Hey YouTube, Jam here. Welcome back to the gaming station. Now, originally, I wanted to make a video that was just going to be a montage of me getting my brawlers back to 550 or 600 after the season reset. That's what the gameplay in the background is. But, while I was working on getting my barley there, I managed to tank nearly 50 trophies. I think I lost like 9 games in a row or something like that. I was playing with randoms up until I tanked. My bull, crow, and Nita all went really well. However, I spent almost 2 hours working on barley. I would get to 543, then lose 2 games, get back to 545, lose a game, win a game, lose a game, and then finally, the tank happened. I dropped and dropped and dropped all the way down to 499 trophies. About halfway through, I started wondering if I was the problem, or if it was the randoms I was with. After watching some of the replays, I seen games where I was the issue, and also other games were the randoms, and then there was games that we didn't stand a chance just because of the matchup. Anyway, this led me to thinking, what can you do to make sure you're not the bad random on the team? And I think I came up with 3 questions you should be asking yourself during and after a game that if you answer them honestly and make the corrections you need to make, it will significantly improve your play. But before we get into my questions, what is some advice you guys like to give when someone asks how they can improve their gameplay? So, enough of the preamble, let's get into it. Question number 1, am I playing too aggressively? We have all seen something like this, people running straight into the enemy team, dying, accomplishing nothing while feeding them super. That's the most extreme example I can think of. But take a step back and think if you should have held your ground instead of chasing an opponent. Sometimes it's easy to make a bad decision when you're in the heat of a fight. Being aware of these mistakes is the first step to correcting them. Another thing is make sure you know when you need to back out of a fight and heal up. In almost every game mode, control is key, and when you die and lose control of your section of the map, it makes it harder for your teammates to maintain their lanes as well. It's better to know when to try to fall back and heal, instead of staying aggressive and dying. This question also works the other way. Am I playing too passively? Do you back out of fights too early, or after you win your lane, are you not helping your teammates win theirs? Are you hanging too far back out of the fights and not helping your team take control of the map? Playing too passively can be just as bad as playing too aggressive, and it can lead to your team having to do more work than needed to maintain control. Finding the sweet spot between playing passive and aggressive is the first step to improving your play. Okay, question number 2 is an easy one, but it's important. Are you landing your shots? So obviously, dealing damage to your enemy is important. Missing too many shots can cost you a fight, and if you're getting frustrated, it can become harder and harder to focus on landing your shots. You're never going to win your lane if you can't force your opponent back. Try not to auto-aim unless your enemy is close. It's easy to spam the red button 3 times real quick, but take a second and make sure you're actually going to land your shots before you waste them. If you're not auto-aiming and you're still missing shots, ask yourself why. If it's because your opponent's juking your shots, try to predict their movements a little bit better. Take an extra second or 2 to watch how they're moving, and then try to predict the next movement when you actually do line up a shot. Another reason you could be missing shots is because you're leading your shots too much or too little. Some brawlers need to have their shots aimed precisely. If that's the case, make sure you're correcting the amount of lead that you're giving your shots. The amount of lead changes from brawler to brawler, so make sure you're doing your best to get a feel for it. Real quick, if you guys are finding this advice helpful, throw a like on the video. The feedback is really appreciated. Alright, finally, question number 3. I think this is probably the most important one to be aware of at all times during a game. Question is, do you have bad positioning? There's a few layers to this question, but let's start with the most basic part. Are you too close to your teammates? Grouping up in the middle of the map, or even just 2 people in one lane, is almost always a bad idea. It gives extra value to splash damage, like Tick and Barley. It makes it easier for piercing brawlers like Nita and Tara to charge their supers. And it makes hit scan brawlers easier to land their shots because there's more people in a smaller space. When you notice grouping happening, do your best to space yourself out from your teammates, or even switch lanes entirely. Next part of this question is, are you using walls to your advantage? Make sure you're using walls to cover yourself when you need to back out and heal. Tanks should use them to cover themselves when they're trying to get close to their opponents, and throwers should make sure they're moving around the wall to keep space between themselves and their opponents. Final part of this question is, are you where you should be during that moment of a match? An example of this is in Brawl Ball, when a Primo jumps over people to go after a squishy brawler, but the ball is moving towards his goal. While he might get the kill, he's essentially taken himself out of the play. Another example is in Heist, when your 2 teammates are on the safe, and you're wasting your time chasing a Barley to defend yours. Chances are you're better off just moving up to join your team instead of defending a Barley that's just going to run around the wall while doing damage to the safe and you can't hit him. During a match, it's easy to lose sight of these few minor details, but when they add up and mistakes are made because of them, they lead to bad play. During a match, ask yourself, am I being too aggressive? Am I grouping with my team? Am I missing my shots? Make the corrections you need to make and your play should improve. So, that'll do it for this video. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you enjoyed these tips, let me know. Also, check out some of my other content. I do discussion pieces on topics I've seen on Reddit, as well as some gameplay with commentary. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.